Summertime and the living is easy.
This podcast does not provide medical advice. Please listen to the complete disclosure at the end of the recording.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyone Dies, the podcast where we talk about serious illness, dying, death, and bereavement. I'm Marianne Matzo, a nurse practitioner, and I use my experience from working as a nurse for 44 years to help answer your questions about what happens at the end of life.
And I'm Charlie Navarrete, an actor in New York City. I ask questions you may have if you've never died before. We are both here because we believe that you are better prepared to make difficult decisions when the living's easy, fish are jumping, and the cotton is high.
So please relax, get yourself a little something comforting to eat and drink, maybe tea and some muffins, I don't know. And thank you for spending the next hour with Charlie and me as we focus on comfort. In the first half, Charlie has an essay by Dr. Daniela Lamaz and also has our recipe of the week. In the second half, I'll be continuing our chat about funerals with a trip to the Arlington National Cemetery and the Arlington Ladies. And in our third half, Everyone Dies continues to wake the dead in our ongoing series of original music. We are pleased to welcome Ray Boone, a singer-songwriter from Florida, who will be performing 2 original songs that could be sung at a funeral for our segment, Songs to Wake the Dead. So, Charles, how are you?
How are you? So, essay. Okay, fine. I hate homework assignments. So let's...
Even at your ripe old age of, how old are you now, 102?
Yes. 102. You know what I found out, speaking of death? The oldest Ziegfeld... Remember Ziegfeld Follies, Marianne? Maybe not firsthand, but...
Oh,
okay.
God, yeah.
So the oldest Ziegfeld girl died at the age of 106. I did not know this. She died in, was it 2010? It was like 2010, 20, yeah.
Huh. So are they all dead
they're all
now?
dead. Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Now they're all dead.
Well, I know of them from Funny Girl.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Never having been alive to actually see them, but well, may she rest in peace.
They're all gone now.
And high kicks and feathers.
Yep. Actually, my one of my favorite bars called Gallagher's was opened by a Ziegfeld Folly dancer. She had to take her husband's names. Yes,
Really?
She had to take her husband's name because this was 1927 after all. Called Gallagher's, which is her husband's name, still around. 100 years in a few years. But yeah, opened by by Ziegfeld Folly dancer, and which, I mean, just a woman opening a business like that at that time was just, was rare. But she did it. She pulled it off. Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of food.
So what are we eating? What are we eating today? I'm hungry.
Our recipe of the week takes us on a trip down memory lane to New England and the now closed Jordan Marsh department store. It has since been purchased by Macy's. Among other things, Jordan Marsh was known for their blueberry muffins. If you read the comments under the recipe, it's surprising how much passion these bad boys stir up. For example, Edward M. wrote, "This brings back so many great memories as a child. Aunt Susie babysitting me on Saturday and taking me on the bus ride from East Somerville to Leechmere to catch the Green Line trolley to Park Street in downtown Boston. Then it was on to Filene's Basement, St. Anthony's Shrine, and Bringham's Ice Cream before we headed over to Jordan Marsh for her wonderful muffins."
Those muffins are really good, by the way.
Richard wrote, "When the Methuen, Massachusetts Mall was in business before they tore it all down to make the Loop, there was a Jordan Marsh and Cap store on that mall. My wife and I always made sure we put Jordan Marsh on our stops to buy those blueberry muffins with all that crunchy sugar on top. Like my wife always says, How come all the good things disappear in life? I have an answer to that. Everyone dies. Yes. Well, maybe I can bring back one of those good things with this recipe. Just as you can bring these muffins to your muffin, your next funeral lunch can provide muffin comfort to the bereaved. And speaking of comfort, in 2015, Dr. Daniela Lamas published an essay in the New York Times titled Smuggling a Beer for My Hospital Patient. I'd like to read it for you today. You can find the reference in our show notes. My pager went off late one afternoon with a message from the oncology service at my hospital, asking me to see a 70-year-old man with metastatic cancer and trouble breathing. I wasn't hopeful. I had chosen to train in pulmonary and critical care medicine because I wanted to be someone who saved lives. But it turned out there was so much sickness I couldn't fix. The patient had worked as a mechanic. Vague pain led to a diagnosis of colon cancer that had traveled to his liver and lungs. Now he was short of breath and might have pneumonia. His team was asking me to arrange a procedure called a bronchoscopy, in which we insert a small tube with a camera at the end down the throat in order to look inside the lungs and suck out a deep sample to find out what's going on. We'll get him on the schedule for tomorrow, I sighed, suspecting that nothing I did would make him better. No food or drink after midnight. In the waiting area outside the procedure suite the next morning, I went through the usual consent forms. He would be asleep for the procedure thanks to sedative drugs we would run through the intravenous line. We would make him feel pretty good, but he would remember none of it. Just imagine a really good martini, or 2 or 3, I joked. You know, Marianne, I have to tell you, that's my kind of doctor. Or in the words of Dorothy Parker, I like to have a martini, 2 at the very most. After 3, I'm under the table. After 4, I'm under my host. Back to Dr. Lamas. Oh, I love Dorothy Parker. So to continue with Dr. Lamas, it was the first time I had noticed my patient smile. You know, I'm more of a Guinness man myself, he said. I remembered the first time I drank a Guinness when I visited Ireland in medical school, and I thought now those lazy afternoons, chatting with strangers, cozy inside a dark pub while it rained outside. You know, as opposed to raining inside. All right, a Guinness then, I told him, reassuringly. Something to look forward to when you get home. But days passed and he was still in that hospital room. The bronchoscopy didn't reveal why he couldn't breathe, as is often the case. Maybe it was pneumonia. Maybe it was the spread of cancer itself to a reaction to chemotherapy. But my patient just kept getting sicker. His doctors decided that he might be too weak to eat or drink without food or water slipping down the wrong pipe into his lungs. They wrote orders to keep him from eating and drinking. When I saw him each morning, I listened dutifully to his lungs, unchanging cacophony of wheezes and crackles. And he told me how his mouth was dry like a desert, and I told him I was sorry. One morning, my patient's wife told me that he had decided against any more aggressive procedures. No more blood draws or chest x-rays or antibiotics. He was dying, and he didn't want to die with a breathing tube in the intensive care unit. The goal had shifted to making his remaining time as comfortable as possible. I stared at the sign still hanging behind his bed, NPO, from the Latin nil persos, or nothing by mouth, in both black letters warning his caregivers that he wasn't allowed to eat or drink. I told the medical student I was working with that we were going on a field trip to the liquor store. Won't we get in trouble, he asked. I hope not, but I had promised my patient a beer when it was all done, and that was a promise I could keep. So that afternoon, we trooped to the liquor store across the street from the hospital and bought a cold bottle of Guinness Extra Stout, which the medical student tucked inside the pocket of his short white coat. We giggled about the buzz the smuggled beverage made in his coat as we rode the elevator back up to the patient's room. I pulled the nurse taking care of my patient into the hall and told her we had something to show her, gesturing to my medical student waiting anxiously in the corner. He slipped the bottle out from its hiding place. "Okay with you?" I asked the nurse. She nodded. I had given my patient's wife a heads up earlier in the day. We were ready. "All right," I said, "let's do it." The hospital room was abuzz with the excitement of the illicit. We closed the curtains. My patient looked calmer, awake despite the morphine, and breathing a little more comfortably. His wife was sitting at his bedside, awaiting our arrival. My medical student pulled the brown bag out of his coat with unexpected flourish. "I figured I'd get you that Guinness I promised," I said. I held it up to the patient's wife first, who nodded encouragingly, and then turned around and showed my patient. He smiled. A Guinness man after all. It was only after I struggled with the cap that I realized none of us had a bottle opener. My medical student saw me casting about, grabbed the beer, and expertly flicked the bottle on the side of the table. We all laughed in surprise as drops of beer ran over the side of the bottle and onto his hands. The room smelled like a party. We poured some of the deep brown brew into a small cup and handed it to the patient's wife, who slowly wet her husband's dry lips. He licked his lips and closed his eyes as he tasted the beer. "Is that okay?" I asked. My patient gave me a thumbs up. I wish that I had known him better. "Cheers," he said. "Bottoms up," I replied. A few days later, my patient died in that room. There were no more procedures. I didn't save his life. I thought again of that first taste of Guinness I'd had while a medical student visiting Ireland. When you first sip a Guinness, you taste something crisp, but there's also the bitterness of hops, and then behind the bitterness, the scent of caramel. Now, years out of medical school, when I think about being a doctor, I think of adrenaline and a rush of decisions and hope of saving lives. But I also think of that moment in the hospital room. Love, a smuggled beverage shared around the bed, alarm silenced, curtains closed. Nice. It really
That's a
is.
great essay,
Very
isn't
much,
it?
yes.
As a palliative care clinician at the VA hospital, I had many opportunities to smuggle things
Good for
into
you.
patients.
Like what?
And well, you know me. I mean,
No, but I'm sorry, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
with
yeah,
a patient,
just like with the doctor here. I mean, stuff that would, like for the patient. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, things that weren't available in the hospital. Like I had one guy who was like just really dying for some ice, not literally, but literally dying for some ice cream. And so that morning I got ice cream, kept it in my freezer, and when I left for work, I packed it up, and when I went into work, took it right up to him so he could have that ice cream. And there was another guy who wanted strawberries, and I bought him strawberries and took them into him. And we had one of our palliative care physicians who the vet had wanted to have scotch. And so Brian brought in scotch in 2 crystal glasses and sat with him and drank a scotch. All those kinds of things that, you don't bring alcohol in, or you don't do this, or you don't do that. But if somebody's dying,
exactly. Yes,
and that's what they want, and they can't leave to go get it, then it's, I think, as much a part of our job as those clinicians taking care of those patients to do what we can to get it for them.
Yeah.
And I guess beg forgiveness rather than ask permission.
Yeah. And even that, just what you mentioned, like with the scotch, or with this gentleman with the Guinness. Yeah, they can't savor it, limited in how much they can swallow, but just the sensation of it. Even putting a little on someone's lips, it just brings back so many memories. You know what? Maybe not even bringing back memories, but it's just a sensation of what the good times of when you felt better. It's
Or
just
feeling
that's
normal.
it. You know what? There you are. Thank you. Just feeling normal.
Feeling normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's a great treat, and it's a good feeling for the clinicians to be able to do
Yes.
that. You know, not be. Hopefully, the clinicians are not so worried about, oh my God, what are the rules? Because I think at the end of life, there's very few rules when it comes to having a beer or a bite of
Yeah,
pizza or whatever it is that you're wanting.
and it's always about the patient. The patient. It's always about the patient. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I
what they
mean, the
want,
person's dying. I mean, yes, yep.
right? Give them the comfort that makes them happy. I mean, if I want a piece of chocolate at the end of my life, somebody better be there to place that on my tongue, you know? Charles.
I'd be there.
Thanks.
So with that,
So
with that, please.
oh yeah,
Yes,
you have
I have.
you have something to say.
Yes, I have something to say.
Oops.
But I forgot. Please go to our webpage for the muffin recipe and additional resources for this program. We hope you will follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and remember to rate and review this podcast. As a licensed nonprofit organization, we are dependent on the kindness of our beloved listeners and always appreciate your donations, which are tax deductible. If you find this podcast to be of help to you, and many of you tell us you do, please go to our webpage to donate so that we can continue to provide quality shows about serious illness, death, dying, and bereavement at www.everyonedies.org. That's every, the number one, dies.org. Marianne?
Thanks, Charles. So, the Arlington Ladies are a group of volunteers to attend the funeral of every member of the United States Armed Forces who are buried at Arlington National Cemetery to ensure that no soldier, sailor, airman, or Coast Guardsman is buried alone. You know, we always talk about on the show that, you know, friends don't let friends die alone. And so dying alone is something that we don't like. And the Arlington Ladies became aware or became into existence because of servicemen who were buried alone. So the Arlington Ladies began in 1948 with the Air Force. The Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Hoyt Vandenberg, and his wife Gladys routinely attended funeral services at the cemetery and noticed that some services had only a military chaplain present. The Vandenbergs believed that a member of the armed force family should also attend, and Mrs. Vandenberg asked her friends to start attending services. She ultimately formed a group from the Officer Wives Club. In 1973, General Creighton Abrams' wife Julia founded the Army version of the group. And in 1985, the Navy created a group, and in 2006, the Coast Guard followed suit. The Marines do not officially have a group because they send a representative of the Marine Commandant to every funeral. Today, the Air Force, Army, Navy, and Coast Guard all have Arlington Ladies who perform similar volunteer duties, attending funeral services for active duty members and veterans. The group also includes one man who's known as the Arlington Gentleman. The criteria to become an Arlington Lady is different for each military service, but each lady has some connection to the respective service, generally as a current or former military member or a spouse of a military member. The Arlington Ladies are an official part of the funeral service, representing the military's chief of staff or equivalent. The Army escort and the Arlington Lady meet each funeral at the cemetery's administration building and travel together, often with the military chaplain, who will perform the services to the soldier's gravesite. They wait together near the burial site for the soldier's casket to arrive, and they walk together to the burial site. There, they wait silently. She is holding his arm until the moment when the folded flag is presented to the deceased soldier's next of kin. It is at that moment the Arlington lady steps forward and breaks her silence. She approaches the widower, grieving mother and father, and offers words of condolence. They present cards of condolences to the next of kin from the military service chief and spouse on behalf of the service family and from the Arlington lady herself. Following the Arlington lady's portion of the ceremony, she steps back to her escort and remains silent for the remainder of the ceremony. She looks straight ahead and always maintains her dignity. While her portion of the ceremony is small, it is meaningful. She represents to family members the entire military service family. Arlington ladies volunteer for the service for many reasons: patriotism, honor, and selfless service among them. Some of the ladies have been a part of the military for many years because their husbands served, and some served themselves. These ladies want to continue the service as long as they can. Arlington National Cemetery holds as many as 100 funerals a week, Monday through Friday, and that's about 20 funerals a day. So as an Arlington lady, Paula McKinley knows that her role is not for the faint of heart. While she has attended hundreds of funerals over the years, one in particular stands out to her: when the 9-year-old daughter of a deceased service member pointed to the casket and asked if Mommy was in there. "Yes, sweetie, she is," McKinley said as she fought to maintain her composure, something unusual for someone in her role. They attend funerals in the heat, in the snow, and in the rain. They are present for the funeral of the youngest soldier who was killed during his first tour or her first tour of duty, and for the World War II era soldier who spent his last days in the old soldiers' home in Washington, D.C. Many times, it's the oldest soldier, the ones who served in Korea or World War II, who have no one to attend their funerals. The Arlington ladies serve, they say, because it is an honor for them to let families know that the military has not forgotten the service their loved ones gave to the United States. And their service, like that of the soldiers they honor, is representative of the military's value of selfless service. And I really never, had you ever known about the Arlington ladies, Charlie?
Yes. One of my first trips to Washington, wound up going to Arlington Cemetery, and I don't think it was a tour guide. I think just some people were talking, and they were talking about the Arlington ladies. So I just started listening in. So, but yeah, it was fascinating. I never knew about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about it either. And I thought, I wonder if churches across the country send representatives to funerals for people who don't have anybody there, so that there's somebody at their gravesite if they're having an internment or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if that's done. And and then there's the other side of me who, I'm very pragmatic, and I think, well, I won't know if there's nobody there.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
would it really care? But I guess it's the appearance of having somebody present at that exit.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the optics, I suppose, in some sense. Do you think you would care if somebody was there?
I won't know. I don't know. I just have felt for a long time that funerals and death are for the living. Just people may want to do something. Whoever is left behind, somebody might want to do something big or do something small, or maybe there won't be anyone there. But again, neither will I. So
You wouldn't care if there
yeah,
was nobody
I
there.
wouldn't know. So.
Hmm. Well, it's something for people to think about, and to think about looking at your own communities and say, if you feel strongly that people should have somebody, the witness of that, then see if you can start a program.
Well,
or,
actually, you know what? As I'm saying,
Tell yourself you'll go to one funeral a week or something.
Oh my
What?
God, Harold and Maude. Remember Harold and Maude? There
Absolutely.
we are. Came out, what, like 72, 73, something like that. Yeah. Actually, as I was saying that, I realized, I've done some deaf cafes around New York, and then just getting into conversations with older people. A lot of people live on their own, or they've lost contact with family, and there's really, no one. They just feel like abandoned. And I encourage people.
Yeah.
Because in New York, most people live in New York City. Most people live in apartment buildings. I said, even if you just say hello to your neighbor, just have some contact. There's somebody at the grocery store, at the bodega, or if you attend church, just strike up a conversation with someone. Because if it's important for you to have someone there, well, to go to your grave, or even if you need a healthcare proxy and there's really no one around,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not. I mean, you have to discuss it with the first person first, to make sure they will follow through with your, end of life wishes. But really, you can ask your neighbor, just someone you casually know, to be your healthcare proxy. Yeah.
Right. You don't have to have an
No, not at
intimate
all.
relationship with
Yeah.
that person. In fact, it's probably better if you don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
So what do you have for our third half, Charles?
Wow. We have our new segment. Well, we have our new segment. Everyone Dies, Wakes the Dead. We know that there are many wonderful songs that could be played at a funeral. We also know there are alternative songs. For example, ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Which, of course, derived from the Black Plague, which killed over 25 million people in the 14th century. We All Fall Down describes the many dead resulting from the disease. Thanks for asking for examples, Marianne.
That's a little bright story.
Thank you very much. So, for Everyone Dies, Wakes the Dead, we have invited songwriters to send us a recording or two of their original songs that could be played at a funeral, one that is appropriate and one that is likely not. Please check out the lyrics for the songs in the show notes, and remember, you can purchase music from the artist's webpage, which is also in the show notes. The artist of the week is Ray Boone. His Florida roots are a mixture of country, Americana, and a new genre, tropical Americana coastal trop rock. He penned all his new EP releases of Native Son, Island Songs, and Ligman Vitae Man, and co-writes with some well-known hit singer, songwriter, producers, such as Phoenix Mendoza and singer-songwriters Keezy Timmer and Walker Hayes. His recordings also have been played on television shows Legacy Trails, Ray Van Horn's Captain's Journey on the Sportsman Channel, and Family Photo Frame on PBS. Ray is signed with BMI. Several of his songs are being pitched to major artists located on Music Row in Nashville. Ray's song, Fishin' Alone, is about the death of a friend and could fit with anything two people would do together to have a memory. Let's take a listen.
Smooth water, sweet weather. I thought I could keep it together. Guess I should have known better, buddy. My bad now. Even got the first damn nibble. Been working this lure and feeling a little crazy, talking to an empty swivel seat on the bow. Whoa, we had some good times cutting up. Fishing buddies don't live forever, y'all. So take it from a tear on the water and give yours a call. Meet 'em at the boat and wet a line with 'em. Hook another memory and hang that biggin on the wall. 'Cause you're gonna thank God for 'em on that blue morning. You try to be strong, fishing alone. Why'd the Lord have to take you right now? Hell, why'd he want to fish with you anyhow? We both know you couldn't catch a mangrove snapper with a stick of dynamite. Whoa, I miss you too much. Whoa, I wish they did. But fishing buddies don't live forever, y'all. So take it from a tear on the water and give yours a call. Meet 'em at the boat and wet a line with 'em. Hook another memory and hang that biggin on the wall. 'Cause you're gonna thank God for 'em on that blue morning. You try to be strong, fishing alone. You too much. Whoa, I wish they did, but fishing buddies don't live forever, y'all. So take it from a tear on the water and give yours a call. Meet 'em at the boat and wet a line with 'em. Hook another memory and hang that bigot on the wall. 'Cause you're gonna thank God for 'em on that blue morning. You try to be strong, fishing alone.
That's a great memorial to his friend, isn't that?
The idea, I mean, just the meanings behind, what is it? Fishing buddies don't live forever, and give a call. Wait, fishing buddies don't live forever.
Right.
Do yourself a favor for me. Give yours a call. Which I mean, you just I mean, friendships and everything take a little effort, even just simply sometimes just picking up the phone and, just talking for a while, having a beer, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or doing a podcast together.
Or that. Yes. Time to break out those martinis.
We got to start recording at night or start day drinking if we're going to do that.
Okay. The second song for the category that could be played at a funeral and is very appropriate, Ray chose She Had Something to Say, which is about the death of a spouse after many years, being left behind, but not ready to let go. His uncle's wife died and for years went to her grave to leave flowers and talk to her.
He's up early every morning and puts on his very best. His 80 years shows in his walk up to where she's laid to rest. It's been over a year now since the Lord took her away. seems to talk to her as if she had something to say. He still keeps the faith that they'll be together again, share the memories of the good life and the love of his best friend. But for now he needs to talk to her just to ease his pain. Just like back in the day when she had something to say. When they were young, they fell in love and began to realize that what they had together would last for the rest of their lives. They leaned on each other, the perfect pair in every way. And to this day he still hears her voice as if she had something to say. He still keeps the faith that they'll be together again, share the memories of the good life and the love of his best friend. But for now he needs to talk to her just to ease his pain. Just like back in the day when she had something to say. They had a love that would stand the test of time. But the years flew by and now he's left behind. So he hangs on to the memories with a visit each day. He misses the time when she had something to say. He still keeps the faith that they'll be together again, share the memories of the good life and the love of his best friend. But for now he needs to talk to her just to ease his pain. Just like back in the day when she had something to say. He's up early every morning and puts on his very best.
Marianne, just the yeah, I get that. Sometimes you just need to go and talk to someone, either, at home or go to someone's grave. Yeah. Yeah, just something for you. And it helps to ease your pain. Your,
Yeah.
like the lyric said, you need to talk to her, um, to ease your pain. Yeah.
I was thinking that I always have something to say. And probably will continue right
There
from
you
the
go.
grave. I don't know. But I talk to my deceased family members when I garden. I'll talk to my sisters, and that's kind of my place. That I don't. I'm too far from where their remains are, that kind of thing. So I just wherever I am, I'll just chat with them.
No, I agree.
So.
And there are times I'm someplace and I'm suddenly think of someone or think of Michael, and I thought, and I will say, like, you would like this. You would like this place. You would like being here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I get that. So, folks, please stay tuned. Yes.
So, thanks to Ray. Those are great contributions to our Waking the Dead.
And please stay tuned for the continuing saga of Everyone Dies. And thank you for listening. Like sand through an hourglass, so are the martinis of our lives. Which brings us to Roger Angell, editor and baseball writer whose writing earned him a place in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Mr. Angell died recently at the age of 101. In his essay, Dry Martini, he admitted that he ultimately moved to vodka from gin because vodka was less argumentative. This is Charlie Navarrete. And it's true,
And I'm Marianne. Is it? I'm Marianne Matzo, and we'll see you next week. Remember, fishing buddies can't live forever, y'all. And every day is a gift.
This podcast does not provide medical advice. All discussion on this podcast, such as treatments, dosages, outcomes, charts, patient profiles, advice, messages, and any other discussion are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your primary care practitioner or other qualified health providers with any questions that you may have regarding your health. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard from this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Everyone Dies does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, practitioners, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned in this podcast. Reliance on any information provided in this podcast by persons appearing on this podcast at the invitation of Everyone Dies or by other members is solely at your own risk.